Okay, so this is my brief review of the brand new comedy 8th Grade. It is written and directed by Bo Burnham, and it stars Elsie Fisher, Josh Hamilton, and Emily Robinson. Alright, so the basic plot is that there's this middle schooler, 8th grader, named Kayla, and the whole movie is basically just her struggles in trying to finish the last couple weeks of 8th grade, and basically her inner emotions about high school and life in general, and also the her struggles with her father, single father, and just life in general. It doesn't need to have a complex plot. This film doesn't need to have one, and I'm glad that it doesn't have an overly complicated plot. I feel like this kind of story, it only really needed a more simple plot so that all the intricacies and complexities of the actual narrative could be more fleshed out with a more simpler plot. All right, so just gonna, as I did in my previous review, I'm just gonna give my good, my bad, and my final score. So let's start with the good, and there's a lot of it. Alright, so first off, right off the bat, the acting is incredible. Elsie Fisher, Elsie Fisher is amazing as Kayla. She is one of the best performances of 2018, in my opinion. Uh, Obviously, there's a lot more films to come out, but if the Oscars were held tomorrow, she would definitely get nominated, in my opinion. Um, she just brings such life to Kayla that you don't really see in such young characters, or young actors for that matter, in a lot of films or shows. Uh, Josh Hamilton, who plays Kayla's father, is also really good. He's a really nice counterbalance to Kayla's more eccentric personality, and it really helps ground the both characters and also the world in which the film is taking place. Um, all the other actors in it were really, really good as well. Basically, it was just all great acting across the board. Um, just a quick heads up, I'm not familiar with Bo Burnham's work before this. Like, I didn't see his YouTube uh, endeavors or his stand-up specials, so this is just my first taste of what he does, and so just letting you know that firsthand. Um, so let's move on to the other thing that I thought was really good in it, which is the writing. It was sharp, timely, and hilarious. That's what I wrote in my notes. Um, I feel like if you were making a film about 8th grade or just middle school in general, you could really easily you could choose to play it safe and sort of just hold back on a lot of elements that are true to form with 8th grade and middle school, but that might not be I don't know, might not be the most friendly topics to discuss, or just sort of the more true to form, realistic ideas. You might not want to, show these ideas at such an early age as 8th grade, and so you could do this, but I feel that definitely Bo Burnham chose not to do this, and I think that was a bold move by him. But I think it was definitely the right move, and it definitely pays off. At the screening that I saw 8th grade at, Bo Burnham was there along with a lot of the cast. And one of the things he said was, in writing the film, he wanted to make a story about 8th grade, but he also wanted to make a story about now. And I feel like that definitely comes through, not only from the social media aspect of it, or just the hip culture, I guess you could say, aspect that is he's trying to get across, but also just in the situations that occur in the film, whether they be funny or not. Um, and I think that definitely that was a really good move as well, because you can talk about social media or Snapchat or whatever for as long as you like, but in order to really make the film timeless, you also have to give it a voice of its own. And I feel like by choosing to not only make a movie about eighth grade, but also about now, Bo Burnham definitely does that as well. And last but not least, the film is hilarious. Start to finish, I mean, there are some parts in between that definitely delve into more serious topics, but um, the comedy aspect of the film is spot on. What I really love about the humor in this film is that it has a purpose. It's not just people shouting one-liners for an hour and a half. The humor actually is rooted in the concepts that the film dives into and discusses, and mainly, at least was that I found or noticed from just the one time that I've seen it, the humor either comes as a reaction to something or as an effect to something else. And I feel like that really, really helps the film keep its pace while also having comedy in it. And so the humor definitely doesn't seem out of place because it is a reaction, or it is the development of other issues or other topics. And I definitely feel like that was really handled. The comedy was really handled well. Um, One of my favorite aspects of the film was the music by Anna Meredith. I am a huge fan of Anna Meredith. I've known her long before this film came out, and so it was really awesome to see her kind of alternative electronic music um, put into this kind of cinematic setting, and I just think it fit perfectly. It definitely highlighted Kayla's struggles, and it also helped emphasize that this film does indeed take place in the time of groovy electronic music. And also, what I loved about the music was that it um, along with being background music essentially for the film as a soundtrack should, it also heightened and helped us sort of feel what Kayla was feeling, if that makes sense. Like, for example, if Kayla sees something that she finds, I don't know, she doesn't like, or she finds really awkward, the music definitely intensifies that for the audience, and I think that that was a really effective use of the music. Let's see. Another great thing about the writing was that um, the they introduced such interesting characters that you can't but help watch. Like Kayla, as on her own, is such an interesting, dynamic, complex character that no matter what situation she's in, it's always super interesting to watch and just experience how she deals with situations and how she deals with different people, and how she just deals with life. It's just so interesting and definitely funny at a lot of parts. Um, what another thing that the humor does in the film is, as I said before, a lot of it is definitely centered on comedy. Some parts of it are not, and I wasn't expecting that, but it was definitely another bold move by Bo Burnham to sort of contrast these aspects of comedy with um, such serious, definitely timely topics. And the fact that, like, just a couple scenes ago, everybody was joking, and then suddenly it turns south so quickly, that humor just makes the dark or sad scenes that much more intense, because oh wait, these are the same characters that we've come to care about throughout the whole film. And so when they're thrust into these really serious, complex situations, we feel that much more for them because we've known them as being these, humorous, relatable characters, and suddenly when we're thrown under the bus by these, like, or we're hit in the face with these situations. It just makes them all the more effective. Um, so that was all my good. Here's the bad. It's a much more minor issue. Some of them are nitpicks. It's just the editing is kind of jarring at some points, just because it's a very fast-paced film, and so at some points the editing just kind of makes it switch like 180 degrees to another topic that it's like, oh wait, we're already gone from that other scene. Oh, okay. But I mean, it's definitely more of a nitpick. It's just I feel like some of those transitions between scenes could have been more ironed out, if that makes sense. Also, because of these kind of jarring cuts or transitions, the pace is kind of weird at some points, because at some points you think that the pace makes it seem like it's like the film is going to or leading up to a certain thing, and then it just kind of either rushes through that, or it sort of spends too much time on that. I mean, this is just my opinion in general, but I just felt that like the pace was kind of weird, and I feel like that was because of the jarring transitions. Um, at towards the end of the film, or throughout the film, Bo Burnham trying kind of sneaks in these themes about he sneaks in these themes about life in general, and sort of just the way that we view life today. And I feel that though they definitely had really good setups, like it's building up to this huge sort of statement, and then when it's said, it's not as fully developed as I feel that it could have been. Um, for example, there's this heart to heart scene with Kayla and her father, and it had an amazing build up. It just once they start talking about it, and once it's like resolved, for me at least, it felt kind of, I don't want to say, no, it felt more elementary, sort of the themes that they were discussing. Like, I feel like it would have been more interesting if they were talking about more complex themes. Since it's the movie is trying to tell you, oh, eighth graders are complex people with their own sets of ideas for life, and I feel that maybe the themes could have been more fleshed out, if that makes sense, or at least more, not. They were kind of one sided, and I felt that it could have been interesting to see different perspectives of that theme. But those are very, very, very minor issues. The film was an absolute blast throughout. One of my favorite films of 2018, definitely. And definitely check this film out. When this comes out, July 14th, 13th, something like that. I suggest highly recommend seeing it. Whether you're in eighth grade or whether you're not, I feel like every one of the points that I forgot to mention was that I am convinced everyone will find at least one relatable quality about this film. Like whether you're on the side of Kayla, whether you're on the side of her friends or her father or her teachers, just I feel like there will always be one thing that you find relatable and touching in this film, and that is why eighth grade is the masterpiece that it is. My final score is a 9 out of 10. Um, Basically, it was amazing all around: the acting, the writing, the music, the characters, the humor, and I felt that the only problem was that the transitions had more could have been smoother, but that is a minor issue in what is definitely a one of the must see films of 2018. So I hope you enjoyed this review of eighth grade. If you liked it, just let me know, and if you have any or not issues, but if you think things could be done better, just let me know as well. And thanks for listening.